Hello there, and welcome to Roll on the Adventure, the podcast where we create a role-playing game, playtest it, and then destroy it horrendously and hopefully come out with something better. Today, we're going to be creating a new game. This is going to be our fourth arc. So without further ado, let's cue the intro. Roll on, roll on, roll on the adventure. Was it just me and you?
I was singing as well.
Singing in spirit.
I say singing, I mean making noise.
Let's give it another go.
Okay, here we go.
What are the words?
Roll
on, roll on the adventure.
It's getting better slowly.
Amy's just dying on the inside.
That's the usual state of affairs, right?
Yeah, that's
True.
the usual.
So we might as well start with Amy. You introduce yourself.
Nice to meet everyone. I'm Amy Smith, the Ascended Extra of the podcast. This is my second time on the show.
Woo!
Ooh.
Isn't it your third?
Technically third if you count Roll on the Adventure Live, which was not recorded.
Non-canon.
Yep.
Doesn't count. It was recorded, actually. I've got a recording of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, cool.
Chris, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Yeah, I'm Chris. I've been on quite a few of these before. As Amy was saying, we did indeed do Roll on the Adventure Live at the very well organised and very entertaining HibanaCon, where we came up with Jazz Vampire Murder Hobos, which was surprisingly fun, but interesting to make up and then run a game of in front of a live audience.
Yeah, it was a bit of an adventure.
Are these murder hobos who are also jazz vampires, or are the jazz vampires murdering the hobos?
So you had a choice of axes. There was the jazz murder axis and the vampire hobo axis.
So the better you were at one, the worse you are at the corresponding thing on the same axis, which did lead to things like the driving skill being murder, was it? So yeah, the better at
Yeah, it was
murder you are, the
murder.
better at driving you are.
Anyway, Maggie, you better introduce yourself.
I'm Maggie, and from a strictly linear cause and events view of time, this is my first time on the show.
Cool. It's good to have you here. Right then. Today we're going to be creating a game based on some of the elements that we came up with last time. And those elements are having fashion intertwined with mechanics, actually rolling some dice this time, tarot cards or something else to do with interpreting pictures, phantom thieves, and that whole sort of cops and robbers, criminality oeuvre, and gaming to hit an emotion or pace. So I think I'd like to start talking about the fashion one. I think that's a really nice idea. I saw some really nice Final Fantasy X2 fan art today. So that was kind of serendipitous.
Final Fantasy X-2 did, of course, have the whole your powers and skill set come from your costume. So yes, that very obviously links fashion to what you can currently do.
Here, fashion, I think of competition. I mean, I know runways aren't really competitive, but I sort of think of the idea of having it set in a contest of some sort. And so I think that way you can either have it be straight up literal battle, or you can have it be sort of a battle of glamour, as in who can glam it up the most, as opposed to literal beating each other.
Literally imagine like catwalks.
Yeah, or kind of going into like dance fight and pose off territory.
Exactly.
So rather than violence, it's kind of trying to make the other one back down rather than just punching him in the face.
Like that idea. And now we pose off.
I think that's an actual thing.
It most likely is.
So setting-wise for that, we could use sort of like a high society thing if we wanted. Have them be more metaphorical. You know, like in musicals where they sort of stop and then do the musical number. And it's kind of an allegory.
The musicals not normally literally have the characters burst into song.
Yeah.
depending on what kind of setting we go for, it could kind of be this is our spirits coming forth to fight, being represented as a fashionista pose off.
Kind of like the stands in
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, with spirits and poses, there's an obvious parallel there.
JoJo is all about the fabulous poses.
So one thing I like about JoJo that would be great if we could translate it into RPG form is it's not about the, at least in the seasons I saw, it's not, the heroes don't win because they get a new power, which is rare for anime. Rather, they get the win by outthinking their opponents.
I think that fits really nicely with the sort of Phantom Thieves thing.
And I think that might be a way of making it. One thing we should strive for is aiming to a system that rewards player creativity above just rolling. I mean, obviously rolling needs to be part of it, but just, not just saying I do this attack, I roll this high, therefore, you know what I mean? Like maybe giving buffs.
That might be
creativity.
interesting because my first idea would be like an optional rule set, whereas like if you're in meat space, the game would be, actually pose, and that would give you additional benefits if you actually do more than just roll the dice like any other RPG. But if we're trying to make it integral to the game,
Are you suggesting a JoJo's pose off LARP? That's what
I
it
guess
sounds like you're suggesting.
much more just like you play it like a normal RPG, but when it comes to the pose off, you get additional points if you actually do the action yourself.
Okay.
See, I'm going to sort of call it right there that is not going to work very well.
It's not going to work in
both
this medium.
online or on a podcast.
No,
Yeah.
so that's why I say it'd be an optional rule set rather than a mandatory one.
Let's not write that one. Let's write the other one because we've only got a couple of hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I'm being really sarcastic today.
It's fine.
So are we thinking that insofar as we're starting to develop a setting in terms of, is the posing actually really happening, or is it kind of representative of like a spiritual or mental battle going on?
I think we should leave that up in the air for now.
Okay.
Let's have a revisit of some of the other elements, see how it kind of ties in, how it doesn't.
What we've got.
Amy, is there any of the other elements that you'd like to discuss for a bit?
I like the idea of talking about tarot cards and how like that, or the idea of interpreting pictures might come into it.
That kind of ties in with what Maggie was saying about rewarding player creativity. That could be a good avenue for doing so.
Yeah, I agree.
I was just wondering how that sort of thing would be integrated into the game. Presumably, for simplicity's sake, you'd be sticking with the major arcana. It's like the Fool, the Magician, that sort of thing.
I mean, there's always the option of using the minor ones for, random things that are happening.
I mean, you could use them as like types. So essentially treat them as suits of cards rather than individual cards. And then the major arcanas are like specials.
I mean, I do like the idea of a major arcana boss whose weaknesses are ways in are sort of driven by the minor spread around them. Could be interesting.
Ooh. That make quite a cool visual on the table of you have the tower or whatever in the middle with cards around it, kind of physically move as you deal with his or get into whatever's.
You could play it similar to some games where you play a card of a high number and it beats everybody else, but then you lose that card until such time as you can play another card that gives you all your cards back.
I don't think I'm gonna. I'd rather not go for a card-based resolution in this one. We do have actually rolling some dice in the the elements list.
You could have both.
I mean, I'd like to use the tarot cards as sort of like session design almost.
Okay.
Are you thinking sort of like you put a card down and then somebody basically starts riffing off the fit what's on the actual drawing in order to work out what's going on? Like that lightning makes me think of something.
Yeah, totally. Like you're trying to defeat someone or something like that, and all the clues are based on the tarot spread in front of the GM, and maybe you could turn over cards and try and work out what's going on from them.
I suppose. I don't know if that might limit creativity to a certain extent.
I don't know. I found it really good for me personally, because what I've been doing for like D&D games is just drawing a couple of tarot cards and seeing what ideas they spark off in my head.
I suppose.
I find having something for inspiration tends to be a bit easier than complete blank slate.
Yeah,
It's just easier to spark off when there's something other than nothing.
yeah. So then, if we sort of consider that for the moment, then how would dice come into this game?
I mean, actual player actions, I think.
Yeah,
They're driven by it.
yeah. You want to do something, you need to roll the dice and compare against.
Just like a basic resolution mechanic.
Yeah.
A bit more trad with that.
I think some sort of like planning and risk element could be really fun. You know, you can risk so many dice, or
Oh, are you thinking maybe you have an actual physical dice pool? That's your dice pool. When you use them, potentially they're gone forever.
or some sort of like sliding conveyor belt thing.
Okay.
That would be interesting. I still think both the tarot card and the dice mechanics can be meshed together, especially if you're using a sort of a dice pool system. You can definitely mesh the two together to have one benefit the other.
I've got an idea.
Right?
So, I you know, all the whole Phantom Thieves thing, and it's like, you know, like surprises and stuff like that. What happens if like each player also got like, so you've got a load of tarot cards that represent the enemies, right?
Yeah.
And at the start, you get one face down that no one else sees that represents your sort of hidden advantage.
I like that idea.
And you got to sort of blag what it is. It's like you're acing the hole almost.
So you can suddenly go, actually, I am a master of, or I have.
Yeah.
Something.
I am the tower, therefore I do this.
Yeah, you fall down a lot.
Woo.
So very much like Coup, almost.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to do the whole, you know, calling people on a fake one.
Probably not that aspect, but more the. So if you have these hidden talents, we think at least quasi PvP.
I
Because otherwise, if they're hidden.
Sorry, Maggie.
I was going to say the early idea I came up with, which seemed popular, was competition. So I suppose it would have to have some element of PvP. Because, well, surely you need participants. You need.
I mean, I imagine this thing could be flexible. You can make either PvE or PvP. So you could have all the players aren't going to attack each other and they attack the DM, or everyone is a player and there's no DM and everyone attacks each other.
Or you could have it similar to Primordia, with there's a goal which everyone needs to meet to win it all, and then each person has individual goals. So it's, middling between the two.
It seems weird to me to have a hidden card which you could presumably lie about without a mechanic that others could use to say, no, you don't have that card.
I mean, you flip it when you use it.
It might just be a powerful one-off benefit.
It's kind of where I was going.
Yeah, and in which case there's no reason to lie. You just say, I have this, therefore I can do this.
Yeah, you kind of flip it over and show everybody.
Yeah. So there's no reason to ever lie. There's no reason to have a lie mechanic.
Yeah. I think lie mechanics were nice in the other games, but I think in this one, because we're trying to do something a bit more traditional, I think they'd probably be overcomplicating things.
I'd agree with you. It was just sort of clearing out the thing that was said before about having a lie mechanic, and I'm saying that might not work for this game.
Yeah, totally. So with on the competition angle, I'm kind of feeling like players as a team should be a thing.
They are literally a team of the gang of rogues.
Yeah. I mean, having everyone with their own things is really cool. I think having a shared goal is going to make the game a lot easier to run.
I agree.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like I said, once we get a basic resolution mechanic, it could be flexible. because there's plenty of storylines where you have a bunch of phantom thieves going against each other as well as going against a general goal.
Yeah.
So it's an adaptable idea.
I mean, I think the competition aspect might come through really strongly if we're doing sort of like societal things. You know, it's about, you know, stealing someone's wife or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you could have various.
Yeah, only one person can become the king.
Yeah.
You could have various things like you must steal the crown jewel from X. Okay. And then you could also have there is this general thing you must steal, therefore everyone must go against each other to steal this thing.
Could work.
But let's go with the team element for now, because splitting everyone apart is going to be easier than getting everyone together.
That is true.
Mm.
I mean, pretty much every game has room for solo scenes anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, talking of this thieves thing, since we've got into it, does anyone have any strong opinions on that sort of stuff?
As in what the thieves are and what they're doing, you mean?
Yeah, like, or, you know, where we might be.
Didn't settle on anything on do we? So
Yeah. I think it could be because it's Phantom Thieves, and apart from some setting, like the idea of Phantom Thieves, charming rogues can be very adaptable to a lot of time periods and contexts.
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like we have any particular requirement for any tech level beyond
Yeah.
whatever we
True.
decide the kind of dueling Phantom Thieves thing is. Because you could do that as skin that as like VR, or you could just have it as magically projecting your spirit, or just a straight up social showdown being represented with this.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have it anywhere from Wild West to modern day, and it would work.
So where are we thinking of going with this? Because we can go pretty much anywhere.
The main thing we've got to decide is is the competition just the setting, and therefore the main goal is really to do with the thieves, and the competition is just the window dressing, or is the competition more involved? Is that, you know, I mean, is the winning the competition the legitimate way of getting what the thieves want to steal?
I'm thinking the competition is a means to an end. It's like you'll get things up, like rival gangs or whatever, out of your way by beating them at posing combat or whatever. You know, you make the bigger splash.
Shows you're superior, they back down, you get closer to whatever you want.
Yeah, because the idea of competition can be quite broad. It doesn't necessarily have to mean competition like I am on a catwalk and I will outpose you on a catwalk. It could be like I am talking to my boss and I must outpose my boss because this is how competition works.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's integral to the game, but again, it's very flexible to how you wish to define it in that moment.
What we're having that actually represent on the character description level, could be, as you say, very broad.
Before we go on to like gaming to hit a mood, so what's going through my head right now is it Jupiter Ascending, the Wachowski film that was not particularly well received?
Suppose how many of their films that genuinely have been especially well received?
First
the
Matrix.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love that there are, you know, these transgender idols out there, they're actual films.
What were you thinking?
So, has anyone seen that?
That's the one with what's it? That guy who was going to play Gambit, who's got the sort of 21 Jump Street with the good looks and the.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
He was in that, wasn't he? As the dog person.
Yeah. So you know in that where they've got those like space courts, and it's like all like pretty much the whole thing is just like crazy, weird, over the top social stuff in space. It's kind of like space fantasy almost, you know?
So is it just like all kinds of Baroque nobility or?
Yeah, I'm thinking
social.
that would be a beautiful setting to set this in.
Okay.
I still see that.
Yeah.
That could be a starting setting, certainly.
Let's just go for one setting.
As in, like, this is the recommended setting. You could do others.
Yeah. I mean, let's build the game around one setting for now. Then we
Yeah.
can spread out later. Because I'm not going to go for the collaborative setting generation. I know I normally push that really hard, but I'm not pushing that this time.
Oh, that's fair. For just to as an exemplification of the concept, then yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's create an example and then we can permute it in like episode 4.
Okay. So
Right.
Baroque.
So crazy nobility, horrendously baroque. Do we want to go fantasy or sci-fi?
Fantasy.
Well,
Stick with it and just go
I was going
sci-fi.
to say sci-fi. And
I've been outvoted. Sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So say like weird science fiction nobility. We'll probably not push the tech too hard then. It's like we can use it for gimmicks and cool shit, but not.
I think it should be sci-fi in the way that the Thor movies are sci-fi, where all the sci-fi is sort of twisted in a way that it's meant to look like it could have been fantasy, and sort of the idea being that these figures justified our gods, so they inspired fantasy despite being sci-fi, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I really like that. So it's sci-fi with the sort of fantasy trappings.
And it's all just crazy. Yeah, you can have all kinds of stuff without needing to justify it.
I also think that's a great idea by having this just super corrupt bored nobility be sort of a big part of it, because you can justify why on earth are they doing that? That's cost them so much time and money. Yeah, they're really that bored. It you can
And it looks good.
You can hand wave so much away by having people with more money than sense.
So yeah, I'm thinking we've got some phantom thieves like dicking with this ridiculously ostentatious nobility.
Just imagine this is kind of a side story to Dune or something. So you've got all of the big nobles doing their fancy stuff, and people nicking the hell out of shit.
So like a lot. So June, really?
Yes.
I mean, without the political motivations for the protagonists, that's basically June.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, like who are these people then? Like, do we want to like nail down where they come from? How do we describe them? How do we sell this to some other people?
I think the idea of nomads for thieves works really well, especially in space. So, and you can space. I mean, there's a reason you come back to space pirates, because it gives you flexibility. They can be anywhere and anywhere, everywhere and anywhere, and it also gives them a cool ship to work with, which you can board or not board. And then
so like nomadic grifters almost.
Yeah, exactly. I think it gives you a lot of flexibility with what you do with them. You don't have to, if you don't tie them down to a central location.
Yeah.
It also, I mean, if they're nomadic and they've been doing this for a while, you can also ramp the difficulty accordingly. So, like you could say, for an easy game, they've just got together as a crew. They haven't been doing this for very long. Or for a difficult game, they've been doing this for like 10 years. There's nothing they haven't figured out yet.
Yeah. So like
But they're also known and wanted.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like they may have a reputation or something. Yeah, that's quite cool. Like you've got like 7 layers of false disguises, because if you only had 6, someone would spot you.
Yes.
It's like there's only so many fake mustaches you can wear.
Who's underneath this mask? Looks off to reveal another mask.
Wait a minute, he's only wearing a fake moustache. Oh wait, no, he's put on the hat. No, we're cool.
Yeah. So there's these nomadic grifters. Do they come from like a specific background? Are we thinking there's like tribes of them? Are they like a disgraced noble house or something?
I'm thinking all sorts. So there's kind of core long-running groups, like you say, clans or disgraced noble house. But there's also just random people that have chanced into this way of life, or somebody disgraced.
I like the idea of Robin Hoods and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool.
I mean, I think you've got to have I mean, one thing I really think we need to clear out: are these the bad guys, or is this us? Is this which angle are we going this from? Are these is this the player faction or the enemy? Because the answer, again, this is the answer to the next question. Kind of hinges on that.
Yeah, because we've got the where, so we're trying to work out the who and the what of who the player characters are. So are they trying to stop these nomadic grifters from, taking the nobles for a ride, or are they the grifters themselves?
I was assuming these are the PCs because their nobles are always dicks. You're allowed to.
I presume we're doing this in a very Arsène Lupin kind of way, in the sense, morality-wise, they can be good, but they're like chaotic good in all forms, but they're never evil.
Yeah, from a general genre thing, you might disgrace them, bring them down, and possibly occasionally kill them, but you're probably doing it to people that are worse than you, and you're not being massively cruel about it.
Yeah.
So, like, they fall to their death off a cliff rather than you slowly torture them to death over months.
Or it's like an ironic death or something.
That'd be very enjoyable.
It's a Disney death.
Well, in that case, I do think that while there should be maybe some core people who are from this, we'll say disgraced clan for the minute, there should be space for them to, because, generally, eventually they will need to go on a recruitment drive, have, picked people up from Craigslist or at a pub or something, where, just gradually through contacts, getting more outsiders to join.
Yeah,
and
I
think
that.
That's really important, because if you don't give them the option to get people from absolutely anywhere, then you limit the people your player characters can be. And at the start, you want to give the player character the idea that they could be anyone, as long as that's anyone, someone who wants to join a group of space pirates to rip off the nobility.
So who, what, and when are going to be. So how are we going to phrase this? Like agents of a disgraced clan, or something like that.
I just think calling it Phantom Thieves, honestly, because they could. Yeah. I like the idea of them being from anywhere.
Yeah, Phantom Thieves. It doesn't really need to be more complicated than Phantom Thieves. They're here to rob people, and let's face it, their victims are kind of dicks.
Yeah. So Phantom Thieves. What exactly? How are we going to phrase what they're trying to
do? My inclination is that obviously stealing treasures is the primary thing. That's what most Phantom Thieves do.
But is that the reason, or is that the method? Is it bringing down the mobility, or are we just for?
Are they just in it for the money, or are they out to try and?
I would like to suggest a line from Pirates of the Caribbean for this, which I feel sums it up perfectly. Take what you can, give nothing back.
Okay.
So how do we phrase this? It's Phantom Thieves doing something to a Baroque sci-fi nobility.
Phantom Thieves pulling off a heist.
So we're definitely doing heists. My only worry is that the whole flashy fashion competition thing isn't in our pitch statement.
Oh, to be fair, it doesn't have to be we need to get in, and we kind of need to stay there. It might be that either it's part of the plan that we need to be there for a while, or the vault closes, so we kind of need to stall for time, and that's how we get more involved in the contest.
You could have it as trying to overawe the nobility, maybe, to try and draw the focus more onto we're here and we look awesome, rather than heist.
I'm kind of getting towards the actual thing is you're sowing discord.
Well, then that case you'd be embarrassing them where they live, because the competition could be something that they take a special pride in, and you're showing up and being like, oh look, I just beat you at your thing. How embarrassing for you.
I also just like the idea, because I am partially taking a lot of inspiration from Persona 5 for this. It's just style. Style is such an important thing for Phantom Thieves that essentially it's like your reputation almost. If you do something that looks sloppy, you're not really a Phantom Thief, you're just a thief.
Yeah, so sort of currency, almost like a currency.
Like a reputation.
Yeah, anyone can just shoot the door down, nick some stuff. But to get in there, seduce your way past their guards, wow them with your performance, and take nothing but the rose of Tranto, that's what marks a master thief.
if you kind of want to add another layer to it, that could be the real competition.
The reputation.
What with other things?
Like screwing over, there could be a second competition when you get back and they mark you on how well you dicked over the first.
So you're thinking maybe there's like a telling the tale at the end element?
Oh God, yes. Kind of like the wrap-up session at the end is you back at the Space Pirates Inn or whatever, going, and then we did this, and to kind of
Awesome.
tally up your XP.
Okay, so stylish Phantom Thieves, sowing discord among a baroque sci-fi nobility.
Yes.
That sounds pretty damn cool. So
Pretty good elevator pitch.
yeah. I think that's a nice statement. Does anyone have any like particular words that they think should be tweaked?
Nope. I'm fine with that.
In that case, let's crack on with the next bit. So, sort of scenes we'd like to see. I think there's definitely going to be the sort of casing the joint sort of bit. I think, there's that sort of intro bit where, you're finding out a little bit about, what's going on at the court or whatever before everything really kicks in.
The nature of a heist does lend itself to a certain structure of, find out what the score is, initial investigation and casing the joint, trying to get in, what inevitably goes wrong, do you succeed, the finale, and then the wrap-up, something like that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having almost a round structure in this.
I mean, so we're aiming for a heist to take 2 hours, I think.
Yeah. So it would still be a round structure because it would start with, this is the thing you want. For instance, then it'd be scouting round, and that's the time for you to get information about your enemies, your locations, that sort of thing.
So I'm thinking to do it like really stylishly, like maybe always start with the scene of like people moving this thing around, or like someone interacting with the MacGuffin.
In what way? Could you give an example?
So yeah, if your MacGuffin is like a mirror, like some sort of like magic mirror equivalent, but for the sci-fi world. Maybe you've got your high priestess character, because if we go for the tarot cards, like in front of this mirror, and then like turning to like the acolytes and demanding things of them. I don't know, like that sort of thing, and then like stashing the mirror away.
How much of this do you think is going to be because as far as I know, we're still thinking of having a GM and players.
Yeah.
So how much of this is going to be the GM making stuff up, and how much is just the players going, the scene starts, there's the High Priestess and the tech space mirror. Considering if it's just a MacGuffin, it's cool, but it doesn't really matter who makes it up. It's the thing you're stealing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could just you could make custom ones, obviously, but it might just be you have a table of possible magic items, essentially, or possible items or things, and just roll on that and say, this is the thing you want. Go.
I don't know. What I'm in favor of is pick 3 of the major arcana, and the players pick 1 between them.
Ooh.
To be the MacGuffin, and the GM works with that.
That would tie back to actually using the pictures and stuff.
So I do like the idea that player choice affects what the MacGuffin is to some extent. So I think it gets them more invested in trying to guess it, if it's something that they had a hand in to some extent.
Right. So we've got the bit where we've got the intro scene, and I think that really would hook the players because they're trying to see what the GM does with the card that they've given.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that could work.
Yeah. I think letting the GM pick the actual villain card is like the main sort of noble sort of card is kind of important.
Here's a question. Obviously, not that we're pinning it down. Whenever I imagine this sort of layout of how the game works, I always imagine the DM, representing the world, has 3 cards. 1 representing the item, 1 representing the main villain, and 1 representing the environment. Or like a complication the environment could go through.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool. So maybe, the players get more cards, they get to give the cards to the GM then interprets them. I think the minor arcana sort of arrayed around it, the problems should probably, ones the GM picks. So they've got like 5 and they get to arrange them how they want.
Mm.
Kind of like a spread.
I'm still wondering how the minor arcanas would fit into this, because the mages, to me, seem like the most impactful cards for this sort of thing.
I mean, you've got all sorts on them, really. They do have a lot of meaning packed into them.
I suppose, but generally with the mages, you want to... The only thing is that because you're playing this game to people that may not know what the arcanas mean, especially the minors, the mages, more people are likely to understand, unless you're able to put on the card, this is what this card can represent.
But also, there's a limited number of them.
True.
I think using any card remaining... So you deal out, like, say, 6 major arcana. The players pick 3 to go, the sort of... One to be the loot, one to be the environment, one to be the sort of person standing in the way. The mark, almost.
Yeah, and then, then other things could be minors.
And then you might have... Oh, sorry, I've kind of lost it. Yeah, around that, you kind of have like all the defenses and things.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
and I think just dealing random cards out for that might work.
Okay, I misunderstood. Yeah, that sounds better.
Because you could kind of do a similar thing for the defense. You could do a similar thing for the defensive layers, where a number of cards get dealt out, and then they kind of get allocated to the person, the place, and the item itself. So depending on how the players try and get the item, how they interact with the world, they might be able to circumvent some of the defenses around the place if they focus their attacks on the person or something like that. So
I can see how that would work.
Yeah, and I think having like an actual spread would be really cool.
So if we want to continue talking about, because one of the things that was on the we wanted to talk about was gaming to hit an emotion.
Yeah.
So how are we going to do that?
I don't know. I think we're going for like a sense of style and awe almost. I think that's kind of cool. I think we should look at how we're going to pace stuff and see if we can get pacing elements in.
So I think, again, having a round-based structure would work very well for this game.
I was just about to suggest, I think if you give reasons why certain things can't happen until certain rounds have taken place, you can control the pacing. Even if it's just a matter of you need to speak to that judge alone. Unfortunately, that judge is in the middle of this round of the competition. It gives you both an excuse to participate in the contest and then something to do when it's finished that will be different enough to both break it up a bit while also maintaining the pacing.
Yeah, I think social events is going to be a big thing. Like, so you've got like a ball or something like that, and those are your chances, and they're all different.
I like the idea of the word chances. You have X number of chances to do X number of things. Once those chances are up, that's your scouting round is over. And then I would say would continue into now you're doing a heist. This is what happens.
You're both on a clock and you only have a limited number of shots at it before. Yeah, you have to move on.
Yeah, I don't see people like a party taking a shot at the goal each time though. I think, there's definitely going to be that sort of, working out the routes in. There's going to be sort of the looking at it phase. There's going to be the sort of building a plan phase. Then there's the sort of getting assets phase. And then there's the kind of actual big moment. This is sounding a lot like Temporal Stereotype Zoo, but then again, they are both at their core kind of heist games.
Yeah, so like I said before, with chances, you could have chances to do various things. So, for instance, you could use a chance to try and figure out a trap. You could use a chance to try and find an ally. And you can do various things.
Sounds almost as though that you can do whatever role play you want to do, but you only have a limited amount of mechanical effect.
Yeah.
So you can talk to the noble or do whatever, but if you want to actually distract him for a moment so your colleague can do X, Y, Z,
Check your style out.
yeah, you only have a limited number of times you can do that.
Maybe this is where the dice can come in more because,
Yes.
more traditional, almost D&D elements or whatever elements you choose, where you can roll dice, and depending on the outcome of that dice, you either get more or less information, so things can become more or less complicated for the actual heist itself. But there'll never be a point in time where it becomes impossible or where it becomes just too easy.
I think it'd be almost like over the course of a D&D game, you could be rolling the dice potentially an unlimited number of times, whereas in the course of this, a given player might only ever be able to roll the dice 8 times ever, because that's how many chances they have.
Okay, so they've got like a certain pool of dice almost.
Or a certain pool of action slots rather than dice, maybe. So, like, over the course of the scenario, you can only scout the location twice, try and find information twice, or something like that.
Here's a question then, because obviously we're currently doing this with a team mechanic rather than a PvP mechanic. How would having one or more people doing the same action affect it? So would there be like an assistance mechanic where, if more than one people do this, it is more likely to succeed well?
I think a stylish teamwork thing kind of is
Yeah.
very much in genre.
I think so.
Depending on what we're going to do for the precise mechanic, it might just be one person rolls, but the other person gives a bonus.
You could do that. It depends how complicated you want to be. Like, one thing you could do if you wanted to make it a bit more, I guess, something people have to think about is essentially split up versus work together.
Yeah.
Which is, if you work together, you are more likely to succeed at that thing, but you're going to have less chances overall because you're spending that time.
Yeah.
And if you split up, you're less likely to succeed, but you can do more things.
Yeah, you literally can get more done, assuming you don't.
Yeah, I'm thinking like some sort of putting dice into pools mechanic.
I think I like the pool and chances mechanic together can work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like each player has a pool, you roll them, you put them together into different plans, and then you roll them.
Ooh, I like the idea of, you're actually assembling your plans.
Yeah, physically assemble it, possibly on top of the cards.
Yeah, that's nice and visual.
Yeah, I like the idea of physically assembling dice pools.
That sounds cool. So I guess if we have that sort of what I call the scout phase, and then would we be fine to just go into essentially you go into the dungeon phase?
I don't think we should have a dungeon phase, like, per se. I think it should just be like you're taking you're actually making the grab and then you're trying to escape. You're trying to, you've done the heist and now you're trying to exfiltrate, basically. Or even you could just nick the thing at the beginning and the rest of it's trying to get off, stop anyone finding out it's gone until you get off world.
Yeah, I don't think there would be a phase where you'll just kind of roll initiative, now fight some goons.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be something like that, but because the way I think of this is, honestly, if the scouting phase is stuff like, making allies, finding out traps, the idea is that you probably would never find out all the traps or your enemies within that scouting phase. There would always be something that's a mystery to you.
Oh, totally. I think there should always, until like the last minute, be some stuff that's a mystery.
So it's always how to deal with that.
Are we thinking there's almost kind of, I don't know if it'd be literally a pool of enemy dice that you can remove through your own successes, or kind of
I don't know.
a hardness rating?
What's that?
Sorry, we're getting more into mechanics.
I don't know. I like the idea that you've got the case in you've got the sort of big intro phase. You show off the MacGuffin, show why it's important.
Show off the villain being a dick.
Or maybe just them being, them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily being horrible, being like ostentatious or whatever. Maybe get an idea for like the style of the court. What sort of what people are wearing.
Yeah, I think just having like a beginning, because now I'm sort of thinking of just like heist movies, like 11. In a sense, you have the intro bit, which is, this is the thing you want, and this is what it's being used for by whom.
Yeah.
Then there is, the montage bit where essentially, this is all the stuff that's guarding the thing. This is what you do to try and make it easier to get the thing. And then the third bit, which is now you've tried to get the thing, there are complications.
And you've got to try.
Yeah, I think so each encounter with the plot, you go in dressed to achieve something, and it means that replanning is painful.
I also think that your outfit should definitely be part of the planning. Then, if you've got enough time to change, then a bit like in Metal Gear Solid 3, where your outfit did matter for where you were, it should matter here.
Yeah, it's like if you're we should just focus on it. If you are dressed to distract the Duke, you are not dressed for evading guards and things like that.
And if you want to change costumes, that takes kind of an action slot because you have to go and physically get changed, so you're sacrificing for that.
Yeah, so complications.
Well, it takes dice out of the pools.
Yeah, so complications. So essentially the dice pool acts as basically your health, almost.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the idea is each time we go into an engagement with the plot, we have a phase where everybody's getting suited up for it, and we do this big description of your intro, and that's the point where we put the dice into the pools, and then we have a bit of a mingle, and the GM can reveal stuff that's happening, the minor arcana that are in play.
Presumably the ones that would it be. Again, sorry for harping on the round structure, but it's this is the thing that happens first. Oh, you knew this was going to happen. This is an easier thing for you. And then there could be the other side of, oh, this thing happens. You didn't know this was going to happen. You may not be suited appropriately for this.
Yeah. So the idea is everything goes in to start with. You lot plan, and then the GM kind of does this first part of the scene. And then you get one chance to replan before you roll.
Do a flashback, essentially.
Well, no, it's
Sort of, is this really your plan?
Yeah,
just changing your plan on the fly.
Yeah, because
okay, I like that.
It's being adaptable, but you're not prepared for it.
Say call it Plan B, because that's what they do. Whenever it's like a movie or a TV series or something, a movie or a TV series or something, they say, okay, switching to Plan B.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I think that's probably what it should be. Yeah.
Cool. I like that. So you start off with Plan A, and then it's probably going to devolve into Plan B. And the more different it is, the more to what you've put your dice into, the more you're going to end up losing.
So eventually you get to Plan E or whatever, and you just fail.
Yeah, there was a Doctor Who. They mentioned a Doctor Who book I read recently mentions how often this happens on the show, and they say usually we're doing well if we get to Plan F.
That sounds like most PC plans.
Okay, so we've got the sort of you lot sweeping in, dealing with things a bit, the sort of investigation, outfoxing the detective, that kind of thing, and sort of building up assets and stuff. I think asset building is definitely going to be a thing. You want to have stuff in place.
You get contacts, or you build up some resources in advance. You deploy
contacts or gadgets or knowledge, or all of these things are resources.
Yeah,
mechanically they'd be fairly similar.
Yeah. And then at the end, you could apply a load of these things to the actual MacGuffin, and I think that's cool.
Sure.
Do we want to have anything happen after you get? So let's say in this case you succeed in this round and you get the MacGuffin. What happens?
I genuinely think that the telling the tale thing is going to be kind of important. We could in theory frame the whole game as telling the tale.
I think the whole game is telling the tale.
Yeah.
Because all different acts to the same movie, essentially.
It's like a framing device.
It kind of gives a bit more license for stretching the truth and blurring quite how the hell you managed to survive that.
Well, I think disagreements should be baked into it on how it happened. I'm not sure how practically we'd go about doing that.
Without just becoming an argument.
I'm not entirely certain. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a hard one.
I think that might be a good thing for a different game, but maybe not for this one.
Yeah. It might make it too complicated for this, but you could have like a bidding process to determine who gets to tell the actual story, as it were.
That's so maybe yeah, and then have them rebid at regular intervals, but make it so that it's harder for the person who's just won to bid. Like give them a penalty, or outright say they can't bid again.
I think that might be too complicated for this because that adds the mechanic to something where, like, telling the tale should be something that everyone does collaboratively and has fun with. Adding a bidding mechanic is interesting, but won't work for this game.
I think the sort of taking over thing could really work if that's how your ace in the hole works.
Oh,
yeah.
So you flip over your minor arcana in front of you, and you get to go, actually, this is kind of how it happened. You know, you get your Oscar-winning moment type thing.
it literally gives you narrative control.
Yeah, I like that. I think the special rules will have a interesting impact on how this works.
Does that sort of make sense, Maggie?
But yes.
Cool. I think that sort of gets a bit of a we can take over and big up the story without making it like a core mechanic.
Especially once per game, you get to go, no, this is when I was awesome.
Yeah.
I love the idea that that's like the full Arcanus thing is like, wait, no, I did it this way.
Yeah, you've still got to blag it with your card, but
yeah, I like that idea. So then we'd get the thing, and because I imagine you could do like one round, which is essentially, did you get the thing or didn't you? But you could also do like a multi-round mechanic where essentially it's like you need to get multiple MacGuffins and you get a number of points based on if you got it, how many complications, and then at the end you describe it either going terrifically well or incredibly badly, depending on how people did.
I'm thinking like stuff sort of cascades forward a bit.
Yeah.
So you're sort of building up a wave.
Like that, almost like leveling up.
So maybe like success dice stay on like things that you've messed with.
Whereas if you do, so if you're doing well, the guards are out of place, the cameras are looping an empty corridor, etc., etc. If you're doing badly, the guards are all alert, the security isn't as bugged as you thought it was.
So you can't use those dice later. You can't.
Yeah,
so basically, if you've got everything in the actual heist, you can use those dice. Because there'll be multiple waves of stuff, all the things you haven't dealt with yet, basically. And you can use those dice in with your plan.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, to actually... So you're kind of spending an action to set them up, and then later on you go, because I've set this up, when this thing happens, it's fine.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like, I'm the magician. Something went wrong with something technical. Nope, it's fine, I can fix it.
So yeah, I've just got this image in my head that this is how it should work. Like, so you've got everything set up with the band and things like that. You've made sure you've basically been the party planner a bit. Yeah. You've got everything sort of out, and you run out of the Duchess's private chambers where she keeps like all her these rare like data slates, having grabbed them all, like basically all the accounts, and you just like sweep out into the crowd and start dancing with people and like dance your way to the exits like separately as the guards like stare on looking confused.
Yeah, I like the idea that's like that's how you describe it.
Yeah.
Like, mechanically it would work in a very, you succeed this, you fail this, but like actually in the game your job is to describe how cool this looks.
Well, mechanically what you've done is you've flowed your dice from the band into your escape.
Yeah, so that could certainly work.
Yeah. So right, the fashion-wise thing.
Yes, I was about to say.
Like, I'm not sure how to make that like really solid. Definitely having a getting ready scene, or like even just a long character introduction.
I mean, question.
Which makes it obvious what you're here to do.
Maybe really simple way is give each outfit like a characteristic as to what it's good at. And so, as in,
Yeah. My outfit is themed around
Yeah.
this.
one outfit could be personal charisma, or you could go for an outfit that's good for appealing to crowds. You've got
Yeah.
to think, okay, I could appeal to you get on the personal outfit. So when I do a specific character interaction for information, I'll
Yeah.
be better on that. But I'll sacrifice the crowd sections, or I could decide that where I really well at is the brief contests part for this round. So I'll pick the crowd pleasing outfit and make it a bit harder for me to get information.
So, like, you could go for I'm going to be sharp dressed, you know?
A bit like
That's going to work out with certain people, but not with others. You might go for ostentatious, which makes you easy to find, that kind of thing.
So essentially like a quality.
And if you want to change out,
like in Pokemon contests, there are 5 qualities to each move. You know, there's cute, cool, smart, and I forget the others. But I think that's the way to make it basic. Just 5 or less consistent categories. Get your player to pick
Okay.
one, and and have it so that the name tells you what situation that will be good for.
Do we want to do like 5 set ones, or do we want to make them quite freeform?
I think having them to be freeform would be I don't know, because I think having the essentially stat-based system, which having 5 set ones would have, makes that a bit more complicated and weird in terms of balance. Whereas if they're just like qualities that are freeform, it becomes easier to adapt them to situations.
Maggie?
I know. I think maybe if we're really making a full game and planning to publish, a bit more fluidity. But I think 5 set ones just makes it a bit simpler. That's where I'm coming.
well, because we could have, what other stats are we think of having? Because if with the characters themselves have like descriptive stats or aspects or whatever,
That's a good point.
we could then have the outfits. You can have a flashy outfit, a whatever outfit, and that's just a static list to give you a benefit in that circumstance.
I mean, do we need much stat-wise? Like, is it going to be a problem?
Thinking not.
I think that would be, I don't know, I think it could be an interesting idea. So, for instance, it would be interesting if the challenges you came up against had essentially challenge ratings, but the challenge ratings are different depending on what kind of statistic you're trying to go against. So, for instance, being sleek might be better in a situation than being ostentatious, as certain characters
Yeah.
might have certain benefits to doing a certain situation, and certain equipment items, in this case clothing, could give you benefits or harms to certain things.
I'm kind of wondering, how different do we want the characters to be mechanically? Do we need much difference, or is it all going to be in like your descriptions of yourself?
There should be some mechanics to help guide what those would be.
I think they might be the 5 stats.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just because otherwise, if there's no mechanical differentiation, there's always the danger of just someone being loud and always jumping in and functionally being the best at everything.
To be honest, they've got a limited number of dice. They can't do everything.
That's true.
And also because they can presumably only use that special once.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I'm just thinking of how many possible characters you could have. Because because presumably your character is based on a major arcana. And how many major arcanas are there?
21.
Yeah, so you could have 21 possible characters.
You could use the whole deck.
I suppose.
There's no reason to just use the major ones.
I think even just using the major ones, that would be a significant amount of variety you would have to account for.
Yeah.
So I think keeping it to the majors and then possibly having minors as maybe the equipment items might help.
I'm still thinking that there's no reason not to have a minor arcana as your trump card. Because honestly, like, there are some really good ones in there.
That's why I think using them as equipment cards might be cool.
Ooh, so instead of them all being hidden, I don't know. I'm thinking like your ace in the whole card should be hidden from everybody. It gets to be a nice surprise.
So here's a sort of question then, because I was just wondering, will the special ability be the same as? So, for instance, if I am the Fool, I always have this special ability. The special ability can never change. I have it in virtue of being the Fool. Or is it going to be, I am the Fool and have these stats, but I have this ace in the hole, which is represented by something else? And therefore, I can be the Fool, but have many permutations of those things.
You've got the full card, right? So you play your full card, and you go, yes, I'm going to nicely bimble through this, or I am going to luckily have him the bag that's slung over my shoulder, my traveling pack.
Yeah.
I'm just going to happen to have something from a far off land that's, that kind of thing.
Okay, so then I don't see how using the miners for ace in the hole would be, unless you have ace in the hole as sort of a category of card.
Well, the miners have stuff on them,
I suppose, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're needed to be used for that purpose.
It just gives more variety, really. It means we're not using the same couple of dozen and a bit cards again.
It'd probably be a bit easier with the Major Arcana, but if you kind of know enough of the cards to be able to draw inspiration from them,
Yeah, I suppose.
the Minor Arcana would presumably still work. But I don't know the cards that well, so I'll probably find it easier with the Majors rather than the Mine.
Yeah, my thing would be, firstly, Occam's Razor, to go for the simpler thing. Because, like for you, I'd imagine using all of the cards, including the miners, would be very interesting because obviously, you would know a lot about their meanings. But for a lot of people that would possibly play this game, they wouldn't.
Okay.
And so making it for a broader audience, I think, is better. And then later on, you can maybe have expansions which allow you to use those if the people want to.
Well, I don't think we're going to need an expansion rules for it. I think we'd just be able to use the same rules.
Yeah, I think that's just an option.
You can do this if you want to. If you don't know the cards that well, just use the Majors. If you're comfortable with it, the Miners as well.
Yeah.
Do you think, Maggie?
I think it's all been covered. I'm just thinking it over. I'm not as familiar with the cards. I don't have anything specific.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Right. So we've got a bit of an idea of what we're going to do. We've got some ideas of things we want to see. Join us in the next part as we try actually put numbers to it all. See you soon. Okay, no one else is saying see you.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.